Hey folks, it's Dr. Rowe here. Hope you are well. I'm just going to get something set up for you here, just to make sure that this is clear enough. Right, I'm just moving a few things down on my screen here. So what we're going to talk about in this short video is communication resume. Excuse the beard and this slightly cool casual look. I just had a long day and I've just come into the office now, and I had a list of things. I always try and keep a track of stuff that's coming up with people, questions that are coming in, particularly, with around communication. There's so many different aspects. There's on a personal level, relationship level, business level, career level. This is more about communication in the workplace. And I think it's something that's really overlooked when people are looking to maybe climb the corporate ladder, possibly going for a job interview. And that is the communication aspect of their resume. Often people will talk about what they've done, what they think they've achieved, the certificates, the projects, etc. they've worked on. But here's a message from me to you. And I've worked with project managers, I've worked with managers, managing directors, CEOs, company owners and company creators from all walks of life over the last 35 years across 20 plus countries. And I'll tell you one thing, that they all believe that communication is singly one of the most important, if not in the top three most important things that make somebody powerful and effective in what they do, whether it's in a role employed by the company, in other words, you're an employee of the company, or starting up, launching, creating your own business, because you need to be able to communicate with your customers, your staff, a message out through social media, etc. Now we're going to focus in on the workplace here, but just bear in mind that if you're currently in a career, you really want to incorporate this in. So what is a communication resume? What is a CV of your communication? Well, normally you don't have specifically a CV that goes, right, this is my CV and this is my communication CV. It doesn't really work like that. So I just want you to be aware of that. However, what you have got the ability to do is incorporate your CV of communication inside your main CV, and you can do it very cleverly. So I'm going to pull up here. Let me just do this for you. Hopefully you've got it on the screen there with me. What I'm going to show you here on that side are four things that are really important to consider. Now, if you happen to have read my ebook, you'll be one step ahead already. So this might actually make more sense to you, because I go through in the ebook, of course, I go through all the different components of the communication system that I use. And right at the start, under the area called preparation, we talk about outcome. Now, when you're thinking about your CV, a really important question to ask yourself is, from a communications perspective, what would be the outcome of the employer or my boss if I'm going for a new job, for example? What is it they're looking for? What's the outcome they want? If I go into this new role, if I get this job, whatever it is, or it might be to take on a new team or to manage a project, etc. What's the ultimate outcome they're looking from me? Is it in terms of performance? Is it results? Is it delivering on sales, performance, etc.? What is it? And then what communication skills would be needed in order for that role and that objective to be fulfilled? This is absolutely vital. Too many people just go and go, oh yeah, I can do this, this, and this, and this. And of course, you're just throwing a lot of mud against the wall. But if you can position your CV with a communications element of it, explaining, even with a title, specific communication skills that I've developed over the last X many years, or just call it communication skills or specific communication skills, and then a small introduction explaining that you believe it's essential in any business, any role, or in this role that I'm going for. The communication is so important, and you've seen that with some of the most successful people in the company or whatever. And so you just want to summarize here some of the key skills that you have from a communications perspective, but you're going to match and marry that with what you believe to be the outcome they're looking to achieve. So first of all, what is their outcome? Then secondly, what's your outcome? So what do you want from this role? Where do you want it to take you to? Might be, for example, you want to be head of sales and or head of marketing, and that role involves you communicating on a regular basis at a very high level across different groups of people, whether it's internally in the corporate structure or externally out to new clients or to customers. So you want to talk in language in your CV that highlights these communication skills, which also match with what they're looking for. This is the perfect scenario, by the way. If you can get these things synchronized with what they're looking for and what you're looking for, instead of fighting it, you suddenly become in alignment with what they're looking for as well. Good. So that's number two. Now, I'm hoping this makes sense because this is a tiny piece of the 38 components I use in the system. But even if you get this right, it starts to make a difference because now what you're doing is you're sitting down or you're presenting something on paper in the form of a CV, and that aligns totally with what they're looking for. So they look at it and go, no. Oh, this is somebody that's communicating with us in a way that we can relate to. Look at what they're saying. And in fact, they've got a section here on communication, which is what we've been talking about. We need somebody that's a really good communicator. Right, let's get this person in. So that's number two. Number three, think about what skills are needed broadly across this role that you're looking for. So if you're going into a managerial role, what would be the broader communication skills? So there might be overall outcomes they're looking for and that you want, but broadly speaking. So for example, if it's a management role, you can say that you believe that communication skills in this role are essential in the following areas. So it could be front facing to the customer, dealing with the team internally. So you're managing the team internally, but he's equally being able to communicate at board level. It might be that role involves you speaking to the board of the company. And so having the ability to communicate both up, down, and sideways in the business is vital. So you talk about the skills needed. So that would be skills that include, for example, being able to present on the spot under any situation, being able to engage the audience or the team that you're communicating with. By the way, that's another component in the 38. Again, as I say, if you've read the ebook, you'll understand about this, but one of the components is engagement, of course. Now, engagement is really important because when you're sitting down with somebody and you've got a team, it might be in the past they've had somebody at managerial level who's just dull, can't engage people, and the team have lost interest. So you can make a note of some of the key skills there. And then the fourth thing here is, what are the key components that you believe are important to talk about and weave into this communication CV. So if I was talking to you and you were coming into my company and it happens to be a sales role, for example, I'll use that as an example. My outcome is I want somebody that's, and let's say it's somebody that's quite senior in sales, but it's kind of let's say it's a management role, overseeing a team of people, but also being able to sell the business, not so much the product, but the business to certain high level angels or investors or people that are coming in to support the business, whatever. So you have to have that ability. So you've got to think about the components. Now, when I use the word components, I'm referring in my head to a system of communication that I use. So as an example, one of the communications we have is dealing with rejection. That's a component that we have within our system. And when I talk about communication, it's you, them, and the environment within which you're communicating. So you've got to think about, from your perspective, your delivery, what are some of the components? So I would suggest you might want to write down engagement, as I've talked about already, dealing with rejection, having the right mindset, going into meetings and meeting with clients, being emotionally and mentally prepared. If we went across the them section of my system, which is the person that people we're communicating with, I would definitely suggest that you write things like being able to connect with them, being able to influence them, being able to create impact, being able to bring social proof to the table, being able to sell using certain sales techniques. And all of these are the elements, or what I call the components. These are key components, 38 of them. Even if you made a note of that, these are some of the key components you need to start to bring into play and let them understand that. And then finally, they might want proof. So one of the great things to do is your CV needs to be brought to life and make it communicate with impact with what you're saying. Equally, when you go to meet them, make sure that your communication is in alignment. If you say you're great at keeping people's attention, and again, there's loads of tools I teach people how to do this, and that you have certain skills in terms of talking about a subject internally without having to do much preparation, and they say to you, right, well, you've mentioned in your CV that you can talk on a subject. Obviously, you know a bit about our company and you've had a look at it. Yes, I have. Okay, so tell us what you think about this product range. Now, they're going to want you to go into a process. Now, I always talk to people about what you do in a situation like that. What are the key things to instantly know how to frame up a 2-minute talk to that person? Brilliant. So if you can demonstrate that through proving that you can do it, it's a game changer. So there's 5 essential things there. I'm looking across at my screen there just to make sure there's nothing else I've forgotten. I think if you did this, you would immediately start to note a difference. Okay, hopefully that was useful. I'm going to sign off and I shall see you on the next post. Oh, one last thing before I forget. I always like to mention this. If you have any comments on this, please type them in. It's always good to see them. What's your how have you used it? What's the impact of it? Equally, remember that you can follow us, you can subscribe, and you can basically come and find out more about what I do. Dr. O signing out.